You woke up this morning already carrying something heavy. A conversation that didn't go the way you hoped, a plan that fell apart, someone who let you down, or a version of yourself that let you down. And somewhere between opening your eyes and reaching for your phone, the anxiety was already there. Quietly waiting, you've been told to relax, to let go, to stop trying to control everything. But nobody tells you how. Nobody explains why your grip keeps tightening, even when you know it's making things worse. 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man in the world wrote something in a private journal he never intended anyone to read. He wrote it to himself in the dark hours before dawn, trying to remember what actually mattered. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and he was learning the same lesson you are learning right now. Marcus Aurelius became Roman emperor in 161 AD, a role he neither sought nor wanted. He was a philosopher first, a student of Stoic wisdom since his teenage years. And yet, life handed him the weight of an empire. He ruled during plague, during war, during betrayal by people he trusted. He lost children. He watched Rome flood and burn. He faced problems that had no clean answers, and through all of it, he kept writing. Not proclamations, not laws, private notes, reminders to himself. A man in the highest seat of power, quietly struggling with the same thing every human struggles with. The desperate need to control what cannot be controlled. What he discovered and what he wrote down in what we now call meditations was not a strategy for winning. It was something quieter, something more powerful. It was the art of letting go. At the heart of Stoic philosophy, the beating core of everything Marcus, Seneca, and Epictetus taught, is a single deceptively simple idea. Some things are up to us. Some things are not. Epictetus, who began his life as an enslaved person and became one of history's greatest teachers, opens his handbook, the Enchiridion, with exactly these words. Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion. In a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our own actions. Read that again slowly. Your opinions, yours. Your choices, yours. The meaning you assign to events, yours. But the weather, the economy, how someone treats you, whether your flight is delayed, whether the deal closes, whether they text back, not yours. Marcus Aurelius built his entire inner life around this distinction. In Meditations, he writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is what Stoic wisdom means by letting go. Not passive surrender, not indifference, not giving up on life or ambition or love. It means releasing your grip on outcomes you were never holding in the first place. Pouring your energy into the only territory that is truly yours. Your response, your perspective, your effort, your character. This is what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. And combined with the practice of Amor Fati, the love of fate, the embrace of what is, it becomes something close to liberation. Marcus didn't just tolerate the plague and the wars and the betrayals. Over time, he trained himself to accept them as part of the same fabric as joy and victory. Not because suffering is good, but because resistance to what is creates a suffering far greater than the thing itself. Here is why this is genuinely hard. And I want to be honest with you about that, because pretending it's easy does you no good. We live in a world that sells control. Every app, every productivity system, every self-help book promises that if you optimize enough, plan enough, hustle enough, you can engineer your life into certainty. Safety, predictability, outcomes you can count on. So when something falls apart, it doesn't just feel like bad luck. It feels like your fault, like you didn't try hard enough, like you should have seen it coming, and so you grip harder. You overthink, you replay, you catastrophize, you try to control not just your actions, but everyone else's. their feelings, their choices, their reactions, because maybe if you could just manage all of it perfectly, you'd finally feel safe. The exhaustion you feel right now? That's not weakness, that's the cost of fighting a war you cannot win. Letting go isn't something that comes naturally in a culture like ours. It has to be practiced, deliberately, daily, with patience. So how do you actually do this? Here are practices drawn directly from Stoic philosophy, concrete, usable, designed for a modern life. The morning sorting. Before your day begins, before the phone, before the news, before the noise, take 2 minutes. Write 2 columns on a page. What I control today. What I do not. Be ruthless, be honest. Most of what we worry about belongs in the second column. Once you see it written down, you can stop spending energy there. The reframe pause. When something goes wrong, and something will, pause before reacting. Ask yourself one question. Marcus Aurelius returned to again and again. Is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, practice releasing it. Not once, not perfectly, just the next small release. The Amor Fati practice. This one is harder, but it changes everything. When something painful or unwanted happens, just try to say, this is part of my story, and my story is worth living. Not toxic positivity, not pretending the pain isn't real, just a refusal to add the suffering of resistance on top of the suffering of the event itself. The evening return. At the end of each day, Seneca recommended a brief reflection. He wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day." Not to judge yourself harshly, but to notice, where did you grip too tightly today? Where did you surrender your inner peace to something outside your control? What will you do differently tomorrow? These are not complicated rituals, they are small, quiet acts of training the mind. Practical Stoicism, not as a philosophy you admire from a distance, but as a living practice woven into ordinary days. Here is what begins to happen when you practice this consistently. The noise doesn't disappear, the world doesn't become easier. People still disappoint, plans still fail. Life remains gloriously, stubbornly unpredictable. But something shifts inside you. You stop being pulled by every current, you start responding rather than reacting. You notice a steadiness, quiet, unspectacular, deeply real, that doesn't depend on things going your way. This is what the Stoics called equanimity. Not happiness as a feeling, but peace as a foundation. Emotional resilience that holds in bad weather and good. A Stoic mind, not cold or detached, but rooted. Present. Unshakable in the ways that actually matter. You become someone others trust because you are not thrown by difficulty. You become someone you trust because your inner state is no longer hostage to the outer world. Zoom out for a moment. The Stoics believed we are each a small part of something vast, a universe unfolding according to a logic far larger than any single human life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." Every moment of letting go is, in this view, an act of alignment, a return to what is real, a recognition that you are not the author of all things, and that this is not a tragedy, it is a relief. Memento mori, remember that you will die, was not meant to terrify, it was meant to clarify, to strip away the trivial anxieties and return you to what is essential. The question is never, can I control this? The question is, am I living in the only way I actually can, from the inside out? Modern Stoicism is simply ancient wisdom, remembering itself inside a modern life, the same human struggle, the same path home. You woke up this morning already carrying something heavy, and maybe you still are. But consider this, the weight you feel is not always the situation itself. Often it is the resistance, the grip, the belief that if you just worry harder, control more, plan better, the uncertainty will finally stop. It won't. But you can stop fighting it. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, deeply imperfect human being, sat alone in the hours before dawn and wrote this reminder to himself. Confine yourself to the present. Not the regret of yesterday, not the fear of tomorrow, just this moment, just this breath, just the one small choice in front of you that is and has always been entirely yours. Stoicism, master your mind, master your life.